Hello everybody and thanks for joining me. Today I'm tying a little Hawthorn Fly pattern, having had the horrible realisation that somehow, despite it only feeling like a few weeks since Christmas, we're in April. The hook I'm using today is a size 14 dry fly hook, although I tie this pattern from size 10 down to size 16, and my thread is UTC 17 black. I do two versions of this fly, one with a dubbed body, and I use some black scruffy dubbing for that, but as I'm going to demonstrate here, I'm going to be using some goose biots dyed black to make a segmented skinny little body. Those long dangly legs, I'm using some black dyed pheasant tail fibres knotted, and then for the wing on this version, I'm using some Aero Dry wing, but you can also use a little puff of CDC. Especially in the smaller sizes this can work quite nicely. I fish this fly damp, so sat in the surface film rather than riding high, and either the Aero wing or the CDC will help it sit nicely in that surface film. Up at the head end, some black hackle. I've cast on my thread and I'm running it down the length of the hook shank, stopping about where the barb would be on a normal hook. And I've had my goose biot pre-soaking in a little bit of water to help make it more flexible. I'm tying that in from the tip, being quite firm because there's only a small amount tied in. I am going to need the whole length of that biot though to wrap this body. I'm going to grasp it securely by the very tip with my hackle pliers, and these biots have a sort of a dish shape to them, and I've tied it in so that the curve is pointing towards the hook shank, which means that the ridges will be on the outside, giving the segmented effect. I'm wrapping that forward in touching turns, and you can see those little ridges sticking up, creates a very nice segmented effect to the body. The flies have a fairly slender body with those long dangly legs and little white wing on top. And as we come towards the end of April, we can have huge hatches of them. They can really swarm. If any of you are in the Midlands, Press Manor is a fishery near Chesterfield. It's one of my favourite places to go. It's local to me. And they have hawthorn hedges along the side, and we can have some fabulous hatches. It can be really exciting fishing. That's the body done. So the next material I'm going to tie in is a pinch of 4 of my knotted pheasant tail legs. The flies themselves have 6 legs, but there's a couple of longer, thicker ones that stick out the back, and I think that that's what helps to give the fly this profile. I've tied those in with a few firm wraps, snipped off the excess, and I'm just going to secure down the tips. I'm aiming to build a tiny bit of bulk into the thorax so we can wrap the hackle over it later. The flies are a bit front heavy. They're really not the most elegant things, but they hatch in great numbers and the trout can go wild for them. Here I've got a small pinch of my Aero Dry wing, just a few fibres. I'm going to again tie that in with a pinch and loop technique, with the wing slightly longer than the body but not quite as long as the legs. I've tied that up towards the front of the thorax, snipped away the excess, don't throw that away, you'll get another fly out of that easily. And I'm securing everything down. This is going to give a really nice sparkly wing that's going to help suspend the fly in the meniscus on the water's surface. Hawthorn flies aren't great at flying, and they certainly aren't very good at swimming, so once they land on the water, they're easy pickings for the fish. Here I've taken my hackle, tied it in by the stem with a cross wrap technique, and I'm just trimming off the excess, securing down the end. I'm going to wrap that forward in touching turns, aiming to build up a nice hackle at the front. You can see I've chosen a fairly small feather here. I don't want it to be a really big dry fly style hackle, just enough to keep the head end of the fly suspended in the surface film and represent some of the front legs and a little bit of the bugginess of the fly. I can secure that down now, a couple of wraps over the front, bend the stem backwards, one wrap in front, and then I can come in with my whip finisher and tie everything down. A good technique for fishing these Hawthorn flies are terrestrial is to try and flick the fly underneath any overhanging vegetation, or if it's a slightly breezy day, cast with the wind, just close to the shore where flies might be blown out of the hedgerows, and just let it sit. Occasional twitch can get some really good reactions from the fish. Here's a view of the finished fly. You can see a nice skinny body, dangly legs, and enough flotation from that small hackle and from the Aero Dry to sit right in the meniscus. Thanks for watching.